Welcome to the CUBE studio here at the New York Stock Exchange. I'm Gemma Allen, and this is our Mixture of Experts series in collaboration with NYSE Wired. Joining me today is a man who has been leading the charge in the future of conversational intelligence. Welcome, Sam Liang.
Thank you for having me here.
So Sam, Otter.ai, what an interesting company, but also what a fascinating time to create a company that really was designed around speech recognition and is now reshaping just what it means, what conversational intelligence can mean. Talk to me a little bit about the journey you and your team have been on, what I guess has changed in the last kind of couple of years and where you really see this product going.
It's been a journey for 10 years now. We actually started Otter before AI became a household buzzword. When we started, the motivation was very simple. Human beings have been talking to each other for hundreds of thousands of years. Voice has been the dominant primary communication system, right? Written language was only invented 5,000 years ago. Before that, human beings have been talking. However, all this voice knowledge and voice intelligence has been lost. So initially we thought, hey, let's build the best speech recognition system so that we can transcribe everything, all the conversation in the world to capture that knowledge. Later we found that people have a bigger pain specifically in corporate meetings. That's exacerbated by the Zoom fatigue, right?
Yeah.
After COVID happened, everyone is suddenly having a lot more meetings because it's so easy to schedule a Zoom meeting these days. So everyone is suffering from Zoom fatigue. But most of the knowledge we discuss in meetings has been lost. Or even if you use a meeting note taker like Otter to take some meeting notes, that meeting notes is usually fragmented or siloed. It's not shared with the team. So now we are actually transforming Otter from just the meeting note taker to a enterprise knowledge base.
Well, I have certainly had jobs and had worked for organizations that have had meetings about meetings, right? I think we've all been there. We've all sat there thinking, when will this end and why are we here again? But what's really interesting to me is the point you made there around setting this company up before LLMs became, the absolute phenomenon they are today, right? So tell me a little bit about how the mass adoption of generative AI in our day-to-day lives and the fact that AI now is pretty much running the stock market, how that has kind of shifted for you, how has that changed the product and the direction that you are taking this company? Are you is it a proprietary model? Are you now working, are you building on top of foundational models? How has it changed the kind of product roadmap?
Yeah, we built the proprietary models to transcribe conversations because we can have the end-to-end technologies to optimize every single step. You mentioned accent earlier when before the show started. That's a big problem. I have accent. We have a lot of immigrants in America who came from everywhere in the world, right? Everyone speak with different accents. People are inventing new words every day. Company names, acronyms, jargons. So without controlling the end-to-end system, it's really hard to have accurate transcription. In addition, we built the proprietary technology to do speaker recognition. This is a very special technology almost nobody has. Actually, if you look at the transcription on Zoom or Microsoft and Google, if you have multiple people in one room, none of those can separate them in that one conference room. They all group that into one speaker. So we are able to separate multiple speakers in one room. Not only that, we can identify the name of each speaker. That's a very unique technology we have, and we have more than a dozen patents on both speech recognition, speaker recognition, and the meeting note system. On foundation models, we are using a combination of OpenAI, Anthropic, and open source foundation models. For meetings specifically, we found that the default foundation model is actually insufficient because most of their training data is written documents.
Okay.
Very little of their training data is voice or conversation data. That make their system biased toward written document and cannot effectively extract insights from conversations. Conversations is very different than written document in several aspects. One is that written documents are usually much better structured, and it's logical, it's grammatically correct. Verbal communication is usually very dynamic, very fluid, and people change topic all the time. The second very big difference is that the verbal communication involves multiple speakers. Right now we have 2 speakers, but when you're in a corporate meeting, there could be 10, 20 people speaking. You need special training, a special model to handle that kind of dynamics, to understand the thinking model of each speaker. What do they care about? And how do they interact with the 10 other people? Who agree with whom? Who disagree with whom? And even the emotional aspect, that's embedded in people's conversation. So those require special training.
When we think about these foundational models, and your company, it's also highly integrated, right? I use it all the time with Gmail. It has some very great kind of seamless integrations. How do you think about defensibility from the perspective of building on these models? And I guess partnering with this ecosystem. Is that something that you think is becoming increasingly opportunistic or increasingly risky?
We're not going to reinvent the wheel, right? Regarding the existing foundation model, but we see there's a lot more to build on top of the existing foundation model to better understand the human conversations, extract insights, understand the dynamics of the human multi-speaker human conversations, and eventually we want to train a model that can participate in multi-speaker meetings.
Wow.
Eventually, we see that Otter can join your meeting and speak just as another teammate. It could help you brainstorm. It can help you facilitate the meeting. If 2 people are arguing against each other emotionally, maybe the Otter can say, hey, let's calm down.
Mediator.
Yeah, become a good mediator.
I love that.
Say, hey, Jem, you're right on this, and Sam, you're right on this, but hey, I see you are, have different opinion on this topic, but let's look at it objectively rather than emotionally.
I love that. I mean, I think there's plenty of use cases for that in the work and in the home, right? It would have been interesting or funny, a great marketing opportunity had the Molebook agents used Otter to track their conversations a few weeks ago. In terms of the agentic side of this, agents using this technology to actually track conversations. Where do you see that going?
We see that's a huge opportunity. We see that voice is becoming the dominant or the primary enterprise intelligence. If you think about, in enterprises, for most people, they actually spending more than 50% of their work time in meetings. So for most enterprises, half of their payroll is actually spent on meetings. Most people haven't realized that. More than half of their payroll is spent on meetings.
Crazy.
So how productive are those meetings? How many meetings even happening? If you ask the CEO of Salesforce or Microsoft, how many meetings are happening in your company? Almost nobody can answer that question. And in those meetings, who speak about what? What's the talking time of each person, right? Otter can give you that statistics and give you that insight. And in addition, we see that Otter is not just giving you the individual meeting notes. The power of Otter is actually to connect all these dots, extract insights across hundreds or thousands of meetings, and tell you, hey, for all your top initiative in the company, for the CEO, we can give the CEO the insight, like how many meetings are happening for each initiative, which one are going well, which one are not going well, what are the bottlenecks, and why are things delayed? It's where you should pay attention to.
And do you, in your conversations that you have, especially at an enterprise level, do you notice that there is efficiency being driven through these conversational insights? What sorts of, I guess, outputs are you seeing in way of folks using this data to drive, productivity changes?
Yeah, two aspects. We use Otter at Otter. All our meetings in the last 9 years are in Otter. That helps us operate very efficiently. We have a small company, but we're generating over $100 million in revenue now. Otter plays a big role to make that happen. For myself, I like to operate in founder mode, but obviously I only have this many hours. I can work 60 hours a week, sometimes even more, but my time is still limited. As a founder, I like to know details, right? The Brian Chesky of Airbnb talk about that. However, your bandwidth is always limited. So I rely on Otter to give me the insight from the important meetings I couldn't attend.
And it's interesting too, because you have so much data, right, in terms of and how you compound that, is a really interesting opportunity. Like, I presume these models we talked about accents earlier, and I have a very strong Irish accent, and Otter.ai sometimes makes a lot of mistakes around some of those words, right? Are these models constantly training themselves? Tell me about the kind of product roadmap here. Like, what's ahead in terms of, additional features, additional integrations? How are you going to kind of drive that experience into different facets?
Yeah, high level, as I mentioned, we're building this meeting-centric knowledge base with agentic workflow built on top of that. Why? The reason I say meeting-centric knowledge base is that knowledge base itself is not a new concept. People have been talking about that for 30, 40 years. But the current knowledge base is only based on written document. Google document, Microsoft Words, Notion, or maybe Slack message or email system. Most people totally overlook the voice knowledge. For several reasons. In the past, most of the voice data is not even captured. After some of that is captured, it's fragmented and siloed. It's not really connected. There's no central repository or central system to manage that. We are building that, and now with LLM, the AI is able to analyze thousands or hundreds of thousands of meetings and give you a aggregate summary or extract insights out of it. So the pain is there. The pain.
Help me contextualize the buyer persona in that futuristic model.
Yeah.
Who would be the ideal decision maker in what setting?
Yeah.
Do you see this?
We actually, after this, I'm heading to a customer dinner tonight We have several enterprise customers joining us, sharing their experience using Otter. One of them is a financial institution. They're an investment banker. They use Otter to manage their client meetings. For every client, they actually create an Otter channel. It's similar to a Slack channel.
Okay.
So there could be dozens or hundreds of meetings for each client. It's organized in that one channel. And then the channel has a membership. They put all the people who work with that client in that channel. So everyone have access to all the client meetings for that client.
The breadth of insight.
So it gives them the visibility, even if not everyone can join every meeting with that client, right? But everyone can use Otter to get access to that information. So that make it much more productive for them to work with that client. So
like a CRM on steroids, right? Really, in terms of what it can do from even a sales pipeline perspective.
Absolutely, it's 10 times better than the existing CRM.
Yeah, wow.
So that's how the investment banker use Otter. There's another company, is a document automation system. They use for both external client-facing meetings and also internal meetings. For internal meetings, it's similar to how we use Otter for our internal meetings. They use for sales meetings, and share the customer meetings with their internal product team. So their product team know what the customers need. They can hear from the customers firsthand. They can share that with their customer success team. When they close the deal, the customer success team need to take over that client and help that customer to adopt their product.
And Sam, tell me, we've seen, I guess historically, cases whereby productivity tools and efficiency tools, especially in the communications and conversational space, have again met challenges, right? If you think about the challenge between Teams, if you're a Microsoft Stack customer, and Slack, which you just mentioned. How do you envision the competitive dynamics of this playing out? How do you plan to stay competitive over the next couple of years, as we see mass consolidation? Whether or not that happens or not is to be determined, right? But it's expected.
Competition is as expected. There always competition, but large companies like Microsoft or even Google, I think they suffer from innovator dilemma. In the sense that they talk about innovation, but if you look at the history, most innovation happen in startups. Startups don't have any constraint, don't have existing things to lose, so they can innovate. They can be more courageous. They can take risks. They create new concepts. The other aspect is that for us, if we create a product that generates $500 million revenue, it's significant for us. For Microsoft, it's nothing compared to their hundreds of billions of dollars of business. So what I'm trying to say, they're not focused, they're not motivated to innovate because they have existing business to protect.
The lion is so far
because
away.
When you innovate, you may disrupt their existing business. They're not going to disrupt their own business.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, we love startups here at theCUBE, and you, in terms of how you've also built and run this company, it's very lean, right? 35 million global users, but less than 200 staff here in the US.
Yeah, we're just slightly over 200
over
people
200?
now. Yeah.
So tell me, close us out. What's ahead for you and the team at Otter.ai over the next 12 months?
Just as I said, we see that voice is becoming the primary enterprise intelligence. So we're building this meeting-centric knowledge base with agentic workflow. The agentic workflow is also interesting because once you have all this knowledge base, and Otter hears everything firsthand in meetings, if you say, oh, I need to send that email to Gem tonight, Otter hears that. And Otter just go ahead and drop the email for you, even before you you open the email system. So either you can tell Otter to send that email right away, or you say, hey, let me take a look, and maybe I change a few words, then you manually hit the send button. Or you say, hey, after the product design brainstorm, right? You say, hey, I need to create a product requirement document about this. Otter, go ahead, and because it already hears what everybody said, it drops the Google document or Notion document for you. It's already there.
Wow.
So the idea is that because Otter knows exactly what you need, not just from one single meeting, because Otter knows all the historical meeting as well. It knows the context. We're also incorporated Gmail, Google document, Notion into Otter as well. So Otter is getting intelligence from both meetings and other systems. Then in real time, it can generate all that output for you, whether it's document or email or Slack message, or create a Jira bug into the Jira system, or update the CRM, Salesforce or HubSpot. We have integration with those systems as well. So Otter is not only just generating the transcript or summary, it's actually will produce work for you.
Well, I gotta tell you, Sam, I'm a woman in my 40s with 2 young kids and 3 separate jobs. So if I can have a technology that can stop me having to listen in on very unnecessary meetings and make my life easier, I am definitely here for it. So happy user right here. Thanks so much for coming on theCUBE.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Gemma Allen, coming to you here from our studio at the New York Stock Exchange. This is our Mixture of Experts series, theCUBE and NYSE Wired. Thanks so much for watching.